Okay, so I have been introduced before, and people know I work at PRS. I'll just start by saying something which is, when you hear it, when I first learned it, was very surprising, which is that we live in a very weird and strange country as far as our governance goes, in one particular aspect. If you think back, 1947 we got independence, 50 we became a republic, 52 we had our first general elections. And we have, by and large, have always had elections on schedule. Once we missed during the emergency by 1 year, and then we had the elections then. We have had, every time somebody has lost power, has peacefully handed over charge to whoever won the election. And if you see, we are the only country in all of Asia and Africa which got rid of colonial powers in the 40s and 50s and 60s, which has done that. No one else, except very tiny countries like, there are apparently 4 or 5 others which have done, which are like Solomon Islands and Jamaica. So if I put a benchmark, 50 lakh population and above, no one else has done it. So I think that's a huge, huge achievement that India has done in the democratic space. And at the center of it all, of our democracy, lies parliament, which is what I work with. So I wanted to check how much people know about parliament. Obviously, everybody knows parliament is Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and the President of India. Lok Sabha, 543 members, plus there used to be 2 Anglo-Indian, no longer. Rajya Sabha, 233 elected by state assemblies, plus 12 nominated. I think most people know that. Let me ask you some questions. What percentage of Lok Sabha consists of women? What percentage women MPs? Any guesses? Somebody said 14, perfectly right. 14%, it is, definitely way lower than the women in the country, but it is still 3 times what we were in 1952, which was 5%. So we are slowly inching towards the 33% benchmark in that constitution amendment, which didn't happen. Maybe we'll do that in 2100, and we'll reach 50% in 2200, but we will get there. What percentage of young MPs, let's say below 40 years of age? (25) is the minimum, so 25 to 40 years, what percentage of MPs? It's actually 12%, but our parliament is getting older. The first parliament had 26% MPs in that age bracket. Now we are 12. What percentage of our Lok Sabha MPs have a college degree? I still remember during the Anna Hazare movement, the current chief minister of my state, Delhi, called all MPs unpad gawar. Okay, let's leave out the gawar part. But how many of them are unpad, or how many of them have a college degree? What percentage? Actually, 73%. So it's a reasonably well-educated group. 73% have a college degree, over 40% have a master's degree, there are 4% have a PhD. So it's reasonably well-educated. What is the average attendance in Lok Sabha? It's 80%. Okay. So they are well-educated, they attend parliament, and we still don't have as good results as we want. So what's going on? So we were looking at this, and we discovered that obviously there are many factors, but one key bottleneck is the sheer range of subjects that MPs have to look at, the sheer lack of time to do that, and the lack of expertise. Just to give you an example, as of now, what are the big bills in parliament? There are 3 bills completely changing all the labor laws. So you'll have a new set of labor laws. So you have to understand how the labor, employer-employee, and various other relationships work. There is the data protection bill, which people know about. How is your individual data kept in the digital form by various people? How is it protected? So very, very different type of problem. There is an amendment to the insolvency and bankruptcy code. Very, very technical issue again. And many other. There are bills related to health. There are bills related to water. There are bills related to higher education. how can anyone know all these subjects? And in most other countries, like, when I say most of the countries, the developed world, the US, UK, etc., there is a good, solid research cell inside their parliament or inside the Congress. The US has CRS, which has a 700-person team supporting all the members of the two houses with research. And each individual senator gets $3 to $4 million funding to hire staff. We used to give 16,000 to hire staff. Now we give a grand amount of 40,000 rupees a month to hire all staff. So we have, in a way, made sure that our parliamentarians are not equipped to do their job. So we said that's one of the motivation for which we set up PRS. The second motivation, which I actually talked about earlier in that panel, which is that as citizens, we have a right to know what our representatives are doing. We should be able to evaluate them. We should be able to engage with them. We should be able to tell them what we want them to do. That they are, at the end of the day, our representatives. So how do we link citizens with the representatives? So we put out a lot of data about each MP, what the MP does. It's available on the website. All the bills, all our analysis, everything is out on the website. So the idea was twofold: provide research to legislators so that they can do their job well, provide information to citizens so that they can hold their representatives and make sure that they do their job well. At the end of the day, the final objective is we as citizens have a better functioning democracy. So what do we do here? Every bill that comes up in Parliament, we do at least a summary. Any bill which has any minor complexity, we do a detailed analysis. We brief MPs across parties on that. We hold sessions for them every Wednesday and every Thursday explaining to that. We get good attendance there, so we brief them. Budgets, very, very important role for MPs. So when we think about education, for instance, the central government and the state government together spend close to 3 lakh crore rupees every year on school education. 3 lakh crore rupees, okay. So just think, if you want to influence how our kids are educated in school, if you manage to work with the government or with influence this system, and let's say you spend 100 crore and get a 1% efficiency gain. All our venture capitals should be able to give you the whatever 100x or 200x or whatever they say as the returns. So the impact of a minor change done through this system, just because the scale is so large, is massive. Now, what we do here is, other than looking at legislation, look at all budgets, explain the demand for grants which go into the line items so that MPs can understand that and ensure that the government is functioning as it should. Several other issues, like we are now started working across 20 states on budgets, working with MLAs. We do this program which we talked about earlier, legislative assistant to MPs, which enables about 50 young graduates every year to work with an MP for a year and learn how public policy works. What has been the result? 400 plus MPs have been reaching out to us over the last few years. Over the last 3 years, we have met more than 1,000 MLAs and working with them across the country. There are 4,000 of them, so that's about 25%. We work across all parties, and one of the ways we see that we try to measure our own perception, the perception that we are non-partisan, is by seeing what is the party affiliations of people coming to us, and it roughly reflects the composition of parliament. We put out information to the media. We got about 1,000 citations this financial year so far. Twitter, we have about 330K followers, which is among the top 5 globally in the public policy space. So we have been trying to reach out. We, of course, have lots of things to do. If we want India to progress well as in any field, at the center of it is a well-functioning governance system, which requires a well-functioning representative democracy, which requires a well-functioning parliament, and even more, a well-functioning state assemblies. And our endeavor is to actually provide support to that to which we are working ahead. I'll just stop there. If there are any questions, I can take them. Done? Thank you. Oh. Yeah. How much time do we have? 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. My name is Upendra. I am 88 batch graduate from Pilani. Now I was in IT for a long time, and now I am a practicing advocate. I have moved to field of law. My question here is: you were talking about numbers, about number of people in the Lok Sabha and all. So now, if we compare our country with others, for example, Britain, they have 650 in the House of Commons. The size and the population is much less. Take France, they have 735 or odd people in their House of Commons. So now, in 1991, we were supposed to take the census and redraw our constituencies. But then Parliament passed an amendment in the Constitution and said that we will postpone it to the census of 2021. So now 2021 is going to be upon us. What do you think? Do you think it is time that we take the population and all the other parameters and redraw the constituencies, increase the number of parliamentarians?
There are two questions there. One is redrawing constituencies. We did it once, making sure that states' representation in parliament doesn't change, but intra-state we redrew them in the middle 2000s. The problem there is the southern states will lose seats comparative to the northern states simply because population growth has been differential and they have been protesting, so it's a political solution which has to be found. Should Parliament have more members? No, that's a difficult question. The problem is that our population is so large. We have 1.3 billion people, or maybe, and growing. It'll be soon 1.5 in another 20 years, right? So, how many people can you have a discussion in a chamber? 500 itself fairly large. If you have 2,000 people, you can't make a decision there. So, that's a problem. So, the answer is simple. The answer is do not think of our parliament as just the only key decision point. It's actually the state assemblies, where the numbers are more manageable. So the answer is to devolve more stuff to the states, keep only certain things at the center, which was anyway the original federal plan, and move towards that so that we have a greater representative system.
Hi, this is Vijay Rao, 6570 batch. What percentage of bills are passed after a thorough discussion? Because most of the time, their budget is passed in one day, which is a mockery. So what are you doing about it in educating people on the need for debating and spending more time in a qualitative manner? What is the role your people are playing?
We have, of course, been writing about it, trying to get some public opinion push, but to answer what percentage, okay, I'll just take the last two parliaments. The 15th Lok Sabha, which was the UPA 2 term, roughly about 30% of bills were passed with almost no debate, which means less than 20 minutes or something. And so about 20% of bills were passed with more than an hour of debate. 80% had less than that. I'm speaking from memory, but that last parliament was better. That number 20 became about 40 to 45. On the other hand, bills are referred to standing committees of parliament which examine them in detail. During UPA 2, that number was 75%. During NDA 1, that number dropped to 25%. So committee work reduced, debate on the floor of the House increased. I think that has to be the last one before.
Thank you for taking me as the last one here. The name is Pradeep Marvaha. I'm 7580 batch. and we work from an NGO called Computer Shiksha. I'm just wondering, you spoke about Delhi administration, the politics of Delhi. Manish Sisodia doing some excellent work. Could we possibly use your platform to raise issues like, there are computers provided in the government schools, but they're locked up in an almirah. And it's very unfortunate that people like us who would like kids to, use those computers to learn. How can we tackle that? Can we raise a question somewhere? Thank you.
So one thing we do not do to stay completely non-partisan is to, other than parliamentary reform sort of things, raise agendas. We react to whatever has been raised in the assembly or in parliament. So the way to do that, I would suggest, is speak to some MLAs directly and give them, they will raise. Thank you for bearing with me.